And coming up, it's a tale of mixed feelings as organized labor suspends its planned national strike.
Will workers get the minimum wage they deserve? That's up for discussion next, and that's the question right now. Okay, let's get into this discussion now. Organized labor has suspended its planned national strike as the tripartite committee completes its assignment on the new minimum wage.
That decision to suspend the proposed industrial action follows a consensus reached at the end of a 12-hour meeting in Abuja on Monday. Although the committee failed to disclose the exact figure agreed to, organized labor assures Nigerians only one figure will be submitted to President Muhammadu Buhari later today. Ayuba Waba's statement goes contrary to the submissions of the committee chairman, Ama Pepple, and Labour Minister Chris Ngige that 24,000 and 30,000 naira will be presented to Mr. President for consideration.
Yeah, speaking on behalf of the government, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, assures Nigerians of accelerated consideration to the recommendation from the government.
We have concluded our assignments, and we are going to present our report to Mr. President tomorrow at 4:15 p.m. And that when you come there, we will reveal the figure that we have recommended.
An agreement has been reached, and also documents have been signed. The point is that only one recommendation of one figure will be going to the President. So I think it will be appropriate for us tomorrow to present this report to Mr. President, and the figure will be made public.
12.5 hours of rigorous engagement, negotiation, stating your cases very strongly. But at the end of the day, the overriding interest of Nigeria is what has prevailed here today. And I am confident that government will give expeditious consideration of the report on receipt tomorrow by Mr. President. And very soon, the processes will be put in place to truly actualize your recommendations so that the status and the conditions of our working populace will be enhanced and they will receive appropriate and commensurate payments for the services they offer to our nation and to the different sectors of our economy.
All right, we have now TVC News correspondent Uche Okoro in Port Harcourt. He will give us update as to what is going on in the field and the vibe from Port Harcourt. He is currently at the State Secretariat in Port Harcourt. Uche, good morning. It's good to have you join us right now. Can you give us, give us a pulse? How is Port Harcourt when it comes to the talk about the minimum wage?
Well, talking about the pulse of the people in terms of the minimum wage struggle, I'll take it from the perspective of labor leaders. And going back memory lane in my last conversation with them, when they had the warning strike just a short while ago, they are saying that this is a struggle for not just the present generation, this is a struggle for future and future generations to come. They are saying that they may not be, be the ones to enjoy this now, but children who are growing up, people who end up in the labor market, who end up as in the employ of different state governments and the federal government, that they will be the ones to enjoy and be the beneficiaries of what is happening right now. So they are saying this is long overdue. The labor leaders are saying if the public office holders can be earning so much, taking home so much annually and monthly in terms of their basic salaries and their allowances, why can't this dividend of democracy trickle down to the ordinary workers here in Rivers State? So it is a joint struggle by the ULC, by the TUC and the NLC here in Rivers State. Everyone is saying this is a long time coming. It is long overdue. overdue. The time is now. They also say that if they fail to achieve this now, they may never be able to get back on their feet, to pursue this struggle and henceforth.
Do the people of Rivers believe the same? I mean, how were they really preparing for the now shelved national strike? Was it enthusiastic on their part? Okay, Uche Okoro, if you heard me, I mean, you did point out that the labor, organized labor, ULC, TUC, and the NLC actually believed before shelving the strike that it would be now or never. And my question to you is, I mean, how did it come to the people of Rivers State? I mean, were they preparing with enthusiasm for the strike? Or what can you tell us?
Well, in terms of I think the labor leaders were quite united. Everyone was preparing. At 4 p.m. yesterday, I had a conversation with quite a number of labor leaders in Rivers State, and they say that at about 5 p.m. they commenced a meeting, a joint technical committee meeting, preparing for this strike. At about 6 p.m., I also had a call, put a call across, and they weren't able to give me updates because that meeting was yet to end. At about 8 p.m., I also had a conversation with one of the labor leaders in Rivers State, NLC, and they said they had concluded their meeting and they had prepared and concluded plans to monitor the strike today to enforce compliance to the national body's directive. So everyone was quite prepared in terms from the labor perspective to go forward with this strike. And of course, you know what happened at the very last minute of the day when the action was eventually called off. But everyone was prepared in terms of the readiness of the people. Many banks were overflowing, ATM machines were overflowing with queues, banks were overcrowded, there was panic buying at petrol stations, and so on and so forth. So everyone was prepared, but of course, you know what happened. The strike has been called off right now. Right now, I'm at the Rivers State Secretariat. This is 15 minutes after.
This is 15 minutes after 8 a.m. and it doesn't appear as if anything is going on here. The workers, as it stands, are yet to resume at their duty posts. According to what they are saying, I've spoken to one or two workers off camera, and they are saying that the information to suspend the strike came a little too late for them. Many of them had already made up their minds not to resume for work today. So right now, as I speak to you, Rivers State Secretariat, it's a shadow of itself. The usual is not here, and you can see behind me by this on a normal day, this entire stretch of this street leading up to the entrance of the Rivers State Secretariat will be very busy. Pedestrian movement, a vehicular movement, but right now everywhere it seems like a public holiday out here. No one is complying with the directive to suspend the strike. Right now, as I speak to you, it appears as though the strike is ongoing here at the Rivers State Secretariat.
Trust people to take advantage of this one.
Well, it's just, thank you very much, Uche Okoro, for giving us updates there from Port Harcourt. You know, when it comes to this, it's just like a way of saying, let's just use today to rest.
Yeah.
You know, after all the pressure of
because working. After all, we didn't get the memo that the strike has been called off.
Then we didn't watch the president, the Labour president, when he announced that the strike is so suspended. So let's just use today to rest, and then tomorrow we can go on with
work. All right. Well, Labour, like you heard, has already called off its strike, but the exact minimum wage figure agreed upon by the tripartite committee remains unknown. Different figures have been banded here and there. Well, TVC News sought the opinion of some Nigerians here in Lagos on how much should the minimum wage really be, for the Nigerian worker.
Let's listen to them now.
Everything in the market is high. What can one buy with 22,000 naira? A bag of beans is 54,000 naira. A rice is 17,000 naira. Not to talk of Gary. Everything is high. What can one buy with 22,000 naira? What is somebody going to do with 22,500 a month? What people use for a charge card?
Yes, that 30,000, even it's too small, but we can say manage it. We need more than that.
18,000 for long, it has been long. So they have to change it, and everything is increasing every day. So what we are buying that time is not what we are getting, and things are changing. Even those that are in government, they are enjoying more than people they are serving.
I stand with that 30,000, it's okay.
Concerning the inflation that is going on, there is a need for the government to increase the wages.
The Nigerian workers deserve to be paid very well, you understand? because if you look at what is happening at the National Assembly, those people, they don't work 30 days in a month, but at the end of the day, they earn more. You understand? So I think we should restructure our government system. That's what I think. And the cost of governance we are running in Nigeria is too expensive, if you ask me. So they deserve more, even more than that. If you look at other climes, like the United States, they earn better. They even pay per hour there.
Well, the voices of the people, everyday people who you will get the pulse, you will get to know how the economy is feeling.
Yeah, from what some of those respondents have said, the debate over minimum wage is going to take a totally new dimension. Exactly. Very soon. When we move away from it's 30,000 or whatever the figure is, then the real discussion will start as to what exactly does the Nigerian worker require to live a decent, life.
Let's join a TVC reporter, Sharon E. Jackson, at the Lagos State Secretariat at Lausa, and she will give us updates from there now. Sharon, it's good to have you join us right now. We just spoke with Uche Okoro from Port Harcourt. He said the Secretariat is like a shadow of itself. How is it in Lausa? Talk to us.
Well, by my time now, it's about 8:20, and what we know before now is that Alausa Secretariat is usually more busy than this. But from my observation as a reporter, those that are at work already are calling their colleagues to inform them that the organized labor has actually suspended the planned strike. So right now, as you can see, there is moving traffic going on right now. People are going to work and to commence several activities. And right here I have a worker who is actually about to set out to work. You were telling me earlier on that you got to know on the news that the planned industrial action has been suspended. What's your take on this?
What my perception is this: the government does not need labor to agitate for wage. There should be a fixed time. There should be a fixed time for government to increase wage, instead of allowing it to degenerate into fixed time for government to increase wage, instead of allowing it to degenerate into what we have presently.
So are you telling me now that if the president receives the report today and pass it on to the National Assembly, are you telling me that 30,000 naira will be a living wage for Nigerian worker as compared to the former 18,000 naira?
As a matter of fact, 30,000 is not enough compared to what people in the NAS, what they receive as allowance. 30,000 naira is not enough in the light of the present inflation trend that we have in Nigeria. It's not enough.
So what are your expectations?
Well, my expectation is that government should make available conducive atmosphere for people to operate. Many people do not depend on government for survival, but create conducive atmosphere, make light available, make power available for people to work, and make other conducive atmosphere available, and people will work, and the economy will improve.
Okay, moving forward and looking at what we find ourselves today, many Nigerians are really hopeful that by past 4 today, this evening, the tripartite committee would deliver its report to President Muhammadu Buhari, which will later be sent to the National Assembly and will be returned back to the president for the president to assent to it.
Sharon, of course, it's going to be a long process before that figure is finally agreed upon. Yeah, but we've been hearing that two figures, 30,000, 24,000, will be submitted to the president for consideration. But, I mean, you've been covering labor for quite a while. Which figure would you say is the one that will carry the day, eventually when labor and federal government agree?
Well, for me as a labor correspondent, I've spoken to some labor leaders over the night, and they are of the view that it was one figure that was arrived at after the tripartite committee last night, and the figure is 30,000 naira. bringing out 24,000 naira, it's a no-no because they said they have a document, a copy of the document that they will present to the President Muhammadu Buhari later in the evening, and the figure that Nigerian workers or the labor leaders are also expecting the President to send to the National Assembly is 30,000 naira. So Nigerian workers are hopeful that that will be what to be presented to the table of the President.
All right, Sharon, since yesterday towards early this morning, people were anticipating and looking forward to the strike. What did you notice when it comes to, you know, panic buying of petrol and other things like that, and even food stuff?
Well, I'm a Nigerian and I also bought fuel. I filled up my tank last night. And also I got food stuff. So that is what I observed people doing last night. I was up this morning as early as 6 a.m. and I must tell you that Nigerians were prepared for the strike because the vehicular movement, the number of people moving out for their day-to-day activity was actually low. But maybe with a station like our channel, TVC News, reporting by 7 a.m. that Labour has suspended the strike action, we found out that before 8 a.m., the traffic of people coming out, the influx of people coming out actually increased. And like I said earlier, while I was observing Alausa Secretariat, I could see colleagues calling each other, informing them that there is work. Labour has suspended the strike, and maybe before noon, things will pick up across border. I'll also be moving on to the airport to see what will happen in the next few hours if flights were cancelled or were delayed, to know the effects of or the impact of the President or the Tripartite Committee not giving us a feedback before 12 p.m. last night.
Sharon, help us understand even further, you know, the fact that about 10 states were already willing to pay way more than the 30,000 naira that is likely to be the figure to be arrived at. About 10 states, I mean, governors were already willing to pay more than that. Plateau, for example, was willing to pay 57 or so thousand, while some 42, and all of that. Paint a picture for us. I mean, why did it now come back to the issue of the governors not wanting or not willing to pay 22,000, or is it 24,000?
Well, if I got your question right, as regards more than 10 states ready to pay more than 30,000 naira as minimum wage, that figure is right. I did a report.
Also, we have states that are paying not up to that. Right now, the minimum wage is still 18,000 naira, but I can tell you that there are about 6 states that are paying more than 18,000 naira as minimum wage. For example, we have a state like Edo. Edo is paying more than 18,000, about 22,500 already as minimum wage. Now, if the Governors Forum earlier last week came up with a figure of 22,500, I would like to say again that that is not the mind of all the governors in the state, because the Governors Forum is just like a pressure group. It's not binded by law, and whatever the Tripartite Committee comes up with is what is the most important and what Nigerians should take seriously.
All right, you have mentioned that the figures and the final report will be presented to the President later today at I think about 4 p.m. or 4:15 p.m. Is it clear if there's going to be any other meeting of the Tripartite Committee again?
Their assignments will finish there, but it doesn't mean that Labour would relax. They would have to follow up and also put pressure so that probably before the next election, general election, which will come up in February, maybe Nigerian workers would have started enjoying the new national minimum wage, because for them, it's long overdue. The last minimum wage has expired since 2016. So workers are agitated, they are excited, they can't wait to start earning more or probably a better wage. So right now, as I speak, after the President receives the Tripartite Committee report later this evening,
The next thing is to send it to the National Assembly, and the National Assembly will pass it into law and send it back to the president for its assent. Then, Nigerian workers will start to enjoy the new national minimum wage.
Okay.
All right. Well, it's good to hear that. Thank you, Sharon E. Johnson, for giving us updates on from Lagos, State Secretariat, to what is going on. Well,
Yes.
it is not just going to be an easy way when it comes to the process until it gets to where it becomes law, and then governments and organizations will start paying the 30,000 if that is the final figure.
It's even interesting that Sharon keeps emphasizing the word "enjoy" the new minimum wage. But for how long will the workers enjoy this minimum wage? Then they begin to talk about another. Because like the Constitution allows, every 5 years.
Every 5 years. So the
minimum
point
wage
there is,
should be reviewed.
now it was supposed to be reviewed 2015. So the next was supposed to be 2020.
Yeah,
So if it is reviewed now, maybe it's going to take into 2023 or 2023 or thereabout, or it might have to still come back at 2020. But we'll wait to see how all that pan out, depending on what Labour decides to come up with.
Okay, it's time.